You're listening to the Four Corners Podcast with your host, Sierra, and today you're going to hear about me watching an episode of MLW. That's right, Major League Wrestling. Why? Because I wanted to see what it was all about, and turns out it was pretty good. But before we get into that, you're going to listen to this new intro I made, and I'll be right back in a second. So this show was crazy, okay? So we had the Raven on it, okay? Were you ever a WCW fan? Were you ever an ECW fan? Do you remember the outcast of society, the one who always looked in the shadows? You know, the man who always complained, what about me? What about the Raven? Yeah, so he has a stable on there called The Calling. And, you know, they're just a bunch of like freaks and outcasts too. But it's like four of them. And they use the aesthetic and the music from the Watchmen HBO Max series. But it's arguably, you know, Raven's best work. It's arguably the apex of Raven's persona in terms of storylines, you know. And so he has this guy, Ricky Shane Page, going against this guy named Manders in a hardcore match. It was a really good hardcore match, to be honest with you. There was a table, one table for each person, like a table, spot. There was thumbtacks. You know, my first MLW show, there's thumbtacks, and you know, lots of carnage. It was great. It was actually really nice, classic. It was an entertaining hardcore match. The show actually started off with Real One, aka Enzo. I don't know if you remember Enzo, who used to be with Big Cass back in WWE. Yeah, the Italian fast talker. He was out there, and it wasn't the only Italian-blooded thing we would see on the show. Hint, hint. But it was wild seeing Enzo. You know, he's great on the mic. Apparently he's not actually with the company though, or he was let go of the company. I'm not sure, but if you go on the MLW page and look up talent, he's not actually on it. So I don't know what that was about. Maybe he will still be on upcoming episodes of the show. I'm not sure. But basically he does this trash talk about this wrestler, this guy, this luchador named Micro Man, who's like this, you know, small dude in a luchador mask. And I mean, that's just hilarious. So he's making fun of this guy's size the whole entire time. And then out comes, you know, he gets his promo interrupted by some guy with a chainsaw who just starts, you know, turning on the chainsaw and starts chasing him around the ring. So that's wild, you know. And so he escapes the guy with the chainsaw. Then another guy brings out a trash can full of weapons. And then, you know, now he's back in the ring. And now, you know, he escapes both of them. And he's back at the top of the ring where he's about to, like, pull out a weapon from the trash can. And out comes, I never saw this Micro Man dude in my life, but you finally get to see Micro Man. And Enzo is so afraid of this dude. And then he runs off to the back. And it's like a small, you know, he's like the dude is the size of the trash can in a luchador mask. And somehow Enzo is afraid of this guy. So, I mean, I think it's good to have a little bit in your Major League Wrestling or whatever, your professional wrestling. Yeah, very, very funny show so far. And then you have the Raven stuff with Ricky Shane Page. was a hardcore match that ended pretty. It had a pretty unique ending. I've never seen this table spot before, I think, but towards the end, there was this guy named Manders who was crawling under the table, like he was trying to hide from being hit by the guy above who was on the turnbuckle. They actually did this really like cool back and forth with the turnbuckle and the table setup, and you didn't really know who was going to go through it or who was going to put through who was going to put who through it. But Manders was on the ground, and the guy just said, "Screw it," this Ricky Shane Page character, and jumped from the top turnbuckle and did this senton onto the table, crashed through the table and onto Manders, and then got the pinfall. And then they kept fighting after that and fought all the way till they got to the back, but the cameras didn't follow them. Apparently Raven and his stable, the Calling, are going to be a part of this War Games style match. War Games, for those of you who don't know, it's like 2 rings put together with a steel cage around it, and you have 2 teams, and it's usually like 4 or 5 people, and one person goes after the other in the ring, and once everybody is in the ring from both teams, then you can start a pinfall. So they're going to do something like that with Raven, his group, and whoever the heavyweight champion is. What is it? Alex Hammerstone, that's his name. So they're going to do something like that. That's pretty. It looks pretty cool. It's probably going to be pretty cool seeing Raven fight again. And then if you're a fan of Leo Rush, well, you got to see him. Oh, wait. I didn't tell you about all the Italian stuff. So there's this like group. What are they called? So they're like the Japanese Too Cool. Like there's this bigger guy who had like the sumo belt, like the Rikishi style sumo belt, and then this other guy who, I don't know, had some like streetwear style pants and was rapping with the crowd. It was more like a call and response kind of thing. It wasn't like it wasn't like a John Cena or a Max Caster kind of thing. It wasn't great. But the crowd was into it, and I think it was campy enough for I think it was a crowd that enjoys a bit of campiness. So they were into it. Natural vibes. That's what I remember. And they went against someone who I don't have to remember hard to remember their names. The Full-Blooded Italians. So this MLW show, I don't know who they're picking up, but it was full of surprises. They had the Full-Blooded Italians on there. And I was actually rooting for them, because back in the day I wouldn't. But this time I was. And they lost, actually. But, I hadn't seen Nunzio wrestle in a while, so that's pretty cool. Like I said, the show's, had some neat surprises if you're just tuning into it randomly. And I think they advertised like 2 pay-per-views on this show. So that's kind of cool. So then you get to your main event. And I thought they did a good job of having like the middleweight, division main event the show, because sometimes that gets overlooked or not pushed to that part of the night. But this, Leo Rush, he's a pretty compelling character. I thought he was, good on here. So he comes out and he sits on commentary. And then there's these 2 guys I never heard of before. Lince Dorado, and then that's another luchador on the show. And then this other masked wrestler. I don't know if he considers himself a luchador, but he was like barefoot. I don't know. They both look crazy. No, he looked crazy. Lince Dorado looked like a luchador. So this Lance guy, this Dorado dude, he's the MLW middleweight champion. But there was some back and forth. Like, Leo Rush basically playing mind games with this guy, talking to him during the match, holding up his championship, giving it to him after the match, and then beating him up and taking it with him as he walked up the ramp. So, I mean, if you believe that makes for compelling television, then I suggest giving a watch to MLW. I thought it was a decent show, but here's the thing. You see these companies, AEW, WWE, really trying to bolster their attendance, really trying to fill seats and stuff for their shows. And I see kind of why TNA has stuck to this, whatever size you want to call it, audience for a while. And that's because really I had a great time watching MLW. You do not need to see a stadium full of people and a wrestling in order to have a great wrestling show. It can be a really small size show. And as long as it's well produced, then it's fun to watch. And I thought MLW was fun to watch. So I'm going to give it another try. I'm going to watch some more episodes. I actually dig it. And, I'm going to try to figure out more, like, what I like about it. And then get back to you. So, have you ever seen MLW? What do you think? Do you like it? Or are you interested in seeing something outside of the main, channels for wrestling like WWE or AEW?